Megaliths and geoliths aren't the same thing. Radiating spoke stone wheels and piles. 6500 BC geoglyphs on a lava field basalt plateau looking a lot like bubbles. Like maybe they were bubbles at one time from the lava, but who knows? It's probably not true. In a swath of rock in the Harrat Sham lava basalt plateau that runs pretty much north to south from Saudi Arabia, Syria, and Jordan. There's this chunk of Jordan that's squeezed between them. It's almost like a buffer zone. And that's where this is. This is an area that's been occupied by human beings for the entire time human beings have been occupying anything. It's not the oldest location, but it may be one of the oldest locations. Everybody wants to have a claim that their country is the origin source for human beings and where God placed his preferred population. Don't you ever forget that. Any group of people, especially a government that's at least paying lip service to a religion, is going to allow this kind of stuff as being part of their national identity. Okay? But anyway, what do you actually find? Well, some of the places are identified as Wadi al-Qatifi, the Wisad Pools, and Azraq Oasis. These are locations that were, in some cases, places where water was found, or place-named locations. So what do you find? Well, here's the problem with this. Every single website refuses to give you a GPS location or maps. One did, and there are a stack of archives below in the description. Wikipedia doesn't even make a note of it. This is about a 5-year-old story. If you looked it up, it was on some woo-peddling website or some actual geography site or whatever, or maybe some nationalists are claiming this is proof that they are the sole keepers of the hunk of dirt there or whatever. Don't ever forget human beings will read into anything they need. So what is actually out there? I can't tell. This chunk of dirt is controlled by the Jordanian government. And there are only 3 or 4 street views out there where there isn't a population. As soon as you notice that there's a chunk of ground out in the middle of nowhere where something unusual is, and you know people are going to want to see it, all you have to do is commission a couple of people to go over and do static altitude flyovers with a camera and take really, really high resolution images of the area with aerial photography and submit it to Google Maps and Bing and everybody else and say, I want you to integrate this into the map. It's part of the world's history. It's not our property. It's history's property. And give it away. Don't even claim a copyright on it. I mean, state who took the photos, but give them away to public domain. This eliminates your ability to even be asked or harassed about a question about it. This also shows that you're perfectly willing to give people ridiculously high-resolution images of this. This can be done also with freaking little toy drones you get out of the store that literally everybody has. None of that was done. Some of these things are maybe 50 feet across. They're easily within the mechanical capabilities of humans doing it. They occurred long after human beings occupied the Earth and, from our home planet, planet Elon Musk, aka Mars. No, it's not aliens. No, they're not messages only visible from space. Obviously, if you look at them, they were never visible from space. They're too small to be visible from space. I'm so fucking tired of this meme about shit being visible from space. They're not. Are they visible from the air? As you zoom into the area where you're looking at it in the Google Map view I'm providing below, you will notice you can't see the shit either. And you're zoomed in enough to take in the entire area where this special space message is supposed to exist. No, they're not visible from space, and they're fairly difficult to see from the air. That's why I'm suggesting drones. One of them is like a couple of hundred meters long. Yeah, because it's a network of lines on the ground. It might have had significance at one time. It could have been literally the route for water pathway. It could have been a set of walls that were put up for a particular reason. But no, it has to be aliens. And we have to say that because Earth changes people have to believe in aliens because they literally worship the subject matter. And strangely enough, some Christians do as well. Okay, I'm done with the rant. What is this area? It's an area where there was an occupied population that built buildings and built paddocks for animals. Its condition now doesn't necessarily match the condition back then. It could have had lots of, fields growing food or whatever, or even had a forest there at one time. Lots of deserts and lots of open areas are like that. Earth changes, real ones, like, the ones you don't want to talk about because you don't believe they exist. They have to be aliens, not humans doing it. The area was occupied for a while, and it still is. And I can guarantee you, underneath some of those towns in that area, you'll find evidence of previous cities, or it was dug up to make the new ones. You can even see one or two people standing on old buttresses and locations that were higher altitude, on top of a hill or whatever, to act as a lookout tower, to monitor their area. Also act as an attraction point for people to go to be able to get directions and go from point A to point B. Waypoints. No, these images are not visible from space at all, period, full stop, because you can't see them when you look at them as well. But, conspiracy, Google hit it. Next, even from the air, yes, you can do an equivalent altitude if you use Google Earth. From the air, they're very difficult to see. If they were painted up, in fact, if you just paint the existing sitting rocks in the ground white or some other contrasting color, preferably matte white with black lines, it would be much better than moving stones around and positioning them. I don't know if you know that, but maintaining a certain pattern of color may be a lot easier. Another one is, why not just find, they are visible in the area, very dark and very light stones in the area to make your pattern. You wouldn't have to build it 5 or 6 feet tall, but you could, and it would be visible, actually visible from higher altitude. But no, let's use basically rocks that look like everything else in the area, like we're building walls, like maybe we're just herding goats or sheep or cows or whatever the hell we had at the time, or maybe making a place for water to be. It's coincidental that a lot of these are actually in oases or near them, or watering holes. These were settlements. These were human activity. No, they're not supposed to be messages to the sky pirates or Space Force of the past, or whatever you want to believe, or the Galactic Federation, or whatever you want to bring up. Okay? All right. No, it's not aliens. But why don't you wish to believe? Because I don't believe something unless I see evidence to cause me to believe something. I don't come up with a belief and then try to back it up later. Every time someone brings up one of these, I give them the benefit of the doubt, and I'm disappointed each time. It's a crushing blow. So anyway, that's about it. Black Desert, as it's named in English, and it's literally just a chunk of rock, literally lava flow, that may have just bubbled up at one time. Heck, they may have come there and noticed that it looked like bubbles and decided to take advantage of the shapes to use them. Maybe they filled up with water. Maybe it's a depression in the ground that filled up with water and they decided to surround it with a wall or whatever. I don't know. And on the ground, even when you're standing in the middle of one, it's almost impossible to see it. You can only detect the visible characteristics of it from the air. That just means it's broken down over the years. That doesn't mean that, it's only visible from the air, therefore it must be for sky people, and they had drones or balloons or levitation. No, it's because people build shit, and then when you tear it down, the dirt impression even will show up. You can see this on Google Street View for city blocks in areas that were torn down entirely and returned to being quote-unquote natural state. But if you go along and mow the trees down and mow the plants down, you end up with patterns in the dirt because of subsidence. This happens all the time. That's how we find some ancient cities. The ground looks totally normal. And then somebody clears the area to try to plant something and notices, hey, I'm seeing squares here. Maybe we should check first. Or they don't, and they just put up their own walls in the same pattern and say, screw it, I'll just use it over again. You'd be surprised how many cities have been found by digging up the current ones. These were cities. These were settlements. They were in the middle of an area that had a different environment at the time. I don't believe these were meant for viewing from space or from the sky because they're not really visible at all. No, go ahead and do it. The link's below in the description. It ends in DKXVA. That's an actual map of the area. It's not. That's equivalent for high altitude. If it's not high altitude based, then it's not aliens. No, you can't see them. You have to zoom in, way zoom in. I'll include, actually, I'm just going to include that. The image to look up, it'll give you the idea where everything is. Prove to me that at the equivalent altitude that you'd be able to even detect them, that they were meant to be seen by something at that altitude. Or maybe it's just a pattern of old cities that have been mined for the useful material. Look up how you make a foundation for a house and a foundation for a road. Okay? Now just do that in some simulation, and you'll see a similar pattern. If you take a building, put it in place, and then take it away, it's simply sitting there, or you digging it out to be there, will create patterns that look like cities. But they won't be as visible later on from the ground. From the air, they're more visible because you can see a pattern. For the same reason that if you zoom in on a sheet of paper, you can't see the lettering very well. You can just see little scribbles with little black lines on it from the pencil. It doesn't make any sense until you get high up. But then again, neither does a city or an interstate highway system. It's not some symbol meant for the aliens. It's just a pattern of activity by humans. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck.